VSoft Labs webinar on VERA and artificial intelligence and how it applies to businesses along with use cases. This is our first time on this platform, but we think it will go very smooth, but we want to make sure that if you have any questions or if anything is not working correctly for you, please submit in the chat or the Q&A area, and Casey will be happy to help in any way she can. All right, team, I'd like to go ahead and get started here. It's 1 minute after 3. I know we have people still continuing to roll in, but without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and begin. Welcome to our webinar today, which covers VERA and artificial intelligence in the workplace. My name is Michael Ross. I'm the Marketing Director at VSoft Consulting, and we also have supporting us today our VSoft Consulting Marketing Facilitator, Casey Tyring. Hello, Casey.
Hi.
How's your day, Casey?
It's going well.
Good, good. All right. And then I'd like to present Konrad Konarski to us. Konrad, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, Konrad, could you go ahead and give us a overview of background and introduce yourself?
Sure. So thank you everyone for joining this webinar. My name is Konrad Konarski, as you can see here. I'm the Senior Practice Head for Artificial Intelligence and Internet of Things for VSoft. Previous to this, I actually ran an AI center for one of the major IT Tier 1 service providers, and also led some design thinking initiatives. And so we brought a little bit of both of those say lessons learned and tried to apply them here in terms of our delivery, our product development efforts, and our messaging.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Konrad. Before we set Konrad loose and you get to hear all the magic of artificial intelligence that can apply in our companies, tell you a little bit about VSoft Labs. You know, our theme is we're inventing tech, and we partner with amazing organizations and have multiple practices with VSoft Labs, which is a subset of VSoft Consulting. Some of our practices include, of course, ServiceNow, Amazon Web Services, MuleSoft, artificial intelligence, chatbots, straight development, and certainly cloud capabilities. And that's just a highlight of where we're going with our labs division. VSoft has offices across North America. So I know we've got some family and clients in the Toronto area, as well as we're in Denver, Madison, Chicago, around the Philly and Harrisburg area, Cincinnati, Ohio, New Jersey, and Atlanta, Georgia. And of course, our headquarters is where I'm located in Louisville, Kentucky. Some final housekeeping. We will have a Q&A session at the end. Casey will help moderate that for us with Konrad. We suspect there will be more questions that we can handle as far as timing, being respectful of everyone's time, but there will be a recording of the webinar, and we will be sure in that recording to address any Q&As that we may have missed today, and you will be sent this recording so you can reference it going forward. Of course, at any time you want to connect with any of our sales team or have some further one-on-one discussions, if you don't have a direct contact with VSoft, you can certainly email the team at sales@vsoftconsulting.com with your information. Casey, if you get a chance, you can share that in the chat. Thank you so much. So anyone can cut and paste that over, but that's easy to remember. But without further ado, let's get to the star of the show who's going to lead us down the path of AI, Konrad. Please take over, Konrad. I'll configure you to be remote control if you'd like here.
I think I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
That's perfectly fine. I will move you over to host, sir.
Great, thank you. So let me, as we do this, kind of lay out the groundwork for what I plan to cover here today. So we're going to go through a couple of real live application cases of our artificial intelligence service offering, including some specific applications for office automation, for lab science, for energy. The idea being is that we want to create as much tangible demonstrations of VERA in its different shape and form for you. It may touch upon a specific use case that is relevant to you, or rather, it may not, but the key here is to expose the capabilities and talk through the feature sets. And ultimately, VERA is holistic to any vertical. And so the same value cases that you see here for a specific industry in one shape, form, or another will apply to you. And so let me just start by kind of talking through this heading here, artificial intelligence with a human touch. And so that's a very deliberate kind of messaging that we want to emphasize with respect to VERA, with respect to our AI and IoT offerings, and with respect to our delivery approach. So I mentioned something earlier on in terms of our design thinking experience. Previously, I led the Eastern European chapter for design thinking for this tier 1 company. And today, I am using this within our practice to deliver a human-centric approach to our design of our AI solutions. And so what you'll see here continuously highlighted is architectural features intended on creating authentic experiences and value to the user. So we really hold on to this particular saying with each and every product and service that we offer. Another quick intro on our AI and IoT practice. We are roughly 24 people globally, distributed both within North America and some offshore. And we have a diverse set of expertise in AI and computer visioning, natural language processing. Yes, actually some of the leading global heads in some of these particular subgenres of artificial intelligence supporting our product development and our delivery processes. So really great team. And I think you'll see that reflected here in what I'm about to present. Okay, so first and foremost, what is VERA? So for those of you that attended the ServiceNow trade show and came to our booth, which perhaps most of you did in some shape or form come to our booth, you saw VERA in two shapes, the virtual assistant that we talked through to most of our audience and the AI pyramid. So I'll showcase some of those, let's say, personified versions of VERA to you here in these live use cases. But ultimately, VERA is an artificial intelligence, and it takes different shapes and forms depending on the specific application case. And it is powered by all these artificial intelligence technologies, but fundamentally, computer visioning, deep learning and neural networks, and natural language processing and natural language understanding. All the others are actually just interconnected features of those three technology AI pillars. And so those three pillars empower the capabilities of each of our products and ultimately deliver this value that we are speaking to. Another important, I think, point to make before we present these use cases is kind of a holistic value proposition to each and every person in the audience. And it's a little simply stated here, but it's true. It's AI is better. It's better when benchmarked against other means of performing analytics, whether they be visioning or traditional analytics, hashing through large amounts of data to create insights around that data. And it's especially better when it's provided with large amounts of information. And so the nature of the industries across any vertical today is that data is growing, and a lot of the data that we have is not being actively used. And so this is a mechanism to leverage that data that is growing within your organization and truly get value out of it, powered through artificial intelligence. And ultimately, it's also in many shape and form better than human operators in identifying or extracting text from thousands of documents, identifying images and extracting insights from images. It has been benchmarked to be exponentially more performant than the human operator equivalents. And you'll see some of that here in some of our examples in terms of how it is enhancing human operation and how it is superior to machine learning and traditional analytics as well. Okay, so this is yet another kind of slogan that we emphasized throughout our offerings and also at the ServiceNow trade show, and it was the notion that artificial intelligence transcends service. And so the idea is that AI, through those technology pillars that I described, can accelerate a workflow, can do something completely different, can automate a workflow, and ultimately it's a disruptive technology that could do things within your organization that you never thought possible, that you normally used humans to support, or something that just simply enhances current workflows, to the level where it is bringing value beyond what you expected of other alternative technologies. The icons on the top are going to be basically the types of vertical markets that we're going to focus on today. So we cover these, and we also cover other industries as well. But the point is that within each particular industry, we want to highlight a value case, but also link it back to a more broad value case to whoever is listening in our audience today. So I'll try to make an effort to deliberately do that here, and you'll see a diverse set of examples. Okay, so now we're going to go through a few different types of use cases, and let me lay out the agenda for you, because some of the really cool ones, in my opinion, are actually at the end. So we're going to keep you guys hooked all the way through. We'll go through some VERA Virtual Assistant examples. So Virtual Assistant is a chatbot, and we're going to go through a few different industries using that chatbot and go through some of the key differentiating capabilities of the VERA Virtual Assistant. We're going to show you a little bit about how VERA is used within ServiceNow in a few different application cases. We will show you some of the power of our AI pyramid, and then we will go through some industrial use cases, which will show you the power of computer visioning and how we tie some of these things back into our turnkey offerings, which include IoT and artificial intelligence as a bundled offering for some sort of solution to a problem within a particular industry. So the first example that I wanted to share with you is an example of one of our customers that is a large appliance manufacturer that was looking for ways to engage their users in an experience that is already frustrating for them, which is essentially troubleshooting a particular appliance. And so the key in providing a way of enhancing that experience is creating an authentic interaction that is not full of issues, that understands the user throughout the interaction, and that solves the problem, right? And so I'm going to share with you first this particular experience, and this is a static view of VERA, and then I have a few videos that will actually show the application working live. Just for time purposes, we wanted to limit how many videos we actually show. So this is a screenshot of VERA interacting with the user to support a troubleshooting activity for a customer portal. And the text here, it's not really relevant, let's say, to the true capabilities and the holistic nature in which this can apply to you. But I will highlight a few things that I think are relevant and scalable. If you see the nameplate here at the bottom, this is a nameplate extracted from a database, and it's an image. And the idea is that we want to essentially provide the user with an interaction through this virtual assistant that is not only text-based, but it represents how the user would be interacting with a live agent or a subject matter expert sitting directly across from them. And so that interaction will not be just text dumps, but various means of engaging the user to hone in on a particular problem, to highlight the areas that are relevant and that we're looking for in ways that would not be, or that would be as seamless as possible. So here we highlight model and serial number to them to inform them that in fact this is where the model and serial number would be located on their appliance. And so when they go and look for that particular model and serial number, they've already been honed in on the location which they need to look at. And this is ultimately powered through computer visioning. And I'll share with you some other very compelling architectural features in the live video that I'm about to show in another application case. But this is the whole notion of artificial intelligence with a human touch. My work within the virtual agent industry kind of understood the ecosystem of chatbots, and we deliberately build architectural features here to break barriers of adoption that are common within adopting chatbots and differentiate ourselves through these sort of functionalities and capabilities of VERA. So this is the architecture for this solution. I will be brief here because I will dive into this a little deeper in the videos, but ultimately the user is at the center of this interaction, and we want to enable him with as much capabilities to hone in on the problem and reduce the friction in interacting with the live agent. So we've built in something called ontologies, which is essentially a way of personalizing the experience by knowing what words can mean ahead of time so that we don't misinterpret their request. This could be something as simple as saying, let's say out of context of this particular application, if I'm a baker and I ask VERA how to bake a cake, then it will, let's say it hears cake, knowing that I'm a baker, it will automatically contextualize and know that in fact I said cake. So those are essentially libraries of words or libraries or personalizations of the experience. Let's say another example would be if I'm in IT and I say asset versus if I'm in logistics and I say asset. Those are two different things, an IT asset versus a physical asset in operations or logistics. And so if I'm asking a question of VERA, I want to personalize that experience so I don't have to redundantly explain myself and get frustrated as that interaction continues. So those are all built-in features of the VERA conversation agent in order to support that seamless interaction. I'll talk a little bit about knowledge graphs here, which is another critical architectural piece, but in the video that I'm about to show here. So this is another example of a VERA Virtual Assistant user experience for a lab scientist. I'm going to play this video as I speak through it, and I might skip over a few things. So we pre-recorded this on the application, but ultimately what I want to highlight is a few different features here. First and foremost, and this is obviously an important but common feature, is the ability to interact with it audibly, which is, of course, something that should be built into a conversation agent because typing long instructions is not always the best way and the most seamless way of engaging. Also, other kind of ergonomic capabilities like having the ability to interact with the touch screen, a yes or no button. And here the user, the lab scientist, is actually looking to reserve a piece of equipment because they are performing an experiment. And an HPLC is a chromatography device. And what VERA is doing on the back end, and this is again powered by the unique architectural features of VERA, is actually looking across a diverse set of data repositories using the power of what we call knowledge graphs. And so I'll highlight what this really means practically for you in a second here. So knowledge graphs essentially annotate data in a real world form. And so these images here that you see, which are facility images, and this information that you see here, which is asset data, is essentially annotated like this in a real world context. And so that makes the ability to map your natural language queries to data a lot easier. And so with the power of AI, we're actually able to automate this annotation in many shape and forms. So as you can see here, we have images that have been processed using artificial intelligence computer visioning, whereby we've actually determined what buildings are what in this particular schematic. That then can be annotated to that particular image. And then moreover, it can also serve as a means to indicate, okay, this is where I need to go relative to where I am, right? So those are all part of that user experience, highlighting, showing images, highlighting within the image where the user needs to locate their assets, where they're currently located. And ultimately, we also tie in something, IoT technology here to show that these particular chromatography devices are in use or are available or are offline, which is another unique extension of chatbot tying in IoT technology. So ultimately, what VERA is doing here is it's collecting data from different application systems, providing it to the user relevant to that particular request, and also it's actually doing something very unique here, is it's estimating the time that experiment might take based on some deep learning analysis of previous experiments. And so it is kind of refining the amount of time slots available to that user based on location, based on the need for that experiment to run. So a lot of stacked artificial intelligence features built to support a seamless interaction by this lab scientist, which otherwise might take several hours to do. In this case, in a few minutes, they're able to actually make that reservation and do so very effectively. I'm seeing, I think, some chats here, but I guess if you don't have any issues, then I will continue going.
Yes, Conrad, I think at the beginning there was maybe a little bit of nuances, but general consensus is we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay, okay. I'm a loudspeaker, so if you can't hear me, there's a problem. Okay, so let's continue on to our next VERA virtual experience. So this is actually a nice example, a very simple, but yet a very unique example of how VERA can support transcending service within the ServiceNow platform. And it is actually one that I have a particular interest in myself because of the need to file expenses through the service portal within the ServiceNow platform. And basically, it's an expense tracking app, but it is an app that does some very unique things with computer visioning, powered by the VERA computer visioning algorithm. And so first I wanted to show you our great vSoft team out of Louisville and their kids. There's when we don't employ, I think, under 18, so those are actually the kids of the parents coming in. But this portal actually is where I would traditionally file my expenses up here. And I would do so by having to submit expenses, attach receipts, and file and categorize each and every receipt for each and every trip, which is very time consuming, and I'm sure you guys have, in one shape or form, done something similar. And so I wanted a mechanism to be able to not only, let's say, scan a receipt, but scan other visual cues, like in this case, you're seeing here this Uber handwritten note. Because I know Uber, for example, doesn't send me physical receipts, I get a digital receipt in my email. And now if I write Uber and a date, I'm able to actually automatically process that along with my expenses, and the Uber receipt will be extracted from my email based on this handwritten note. So there's a computer visioning algorithm that actually processes the handwritten text and then automatically extracts that receipt based on the date that it finds that receipt from my email. And so you see here 5346, which is actually the total for that receipt. And I think you later on in the video, that's my receipt from my Gmail, 5346, and that was extracted automatically based on the keyword Uber and the date in which the receipt was provided to me. And that doesn't end where we stopped our computer visioning efforts. We actually decided that I think it would be useful to do other visual cues that could allow a user to automatically process additional receipts that are relevant to the trip, in this case, hotel keys. So we actually built an object detection platform and an optical character recognition system to identify room keys and identify, in this case, I did a handwritten note, a room key, and a receipt. And then, again, with the same logic, what it does here is actually the room key will be identified as the Beverly Hilton. And because of the other dates, including my Lyft receipt here for February 9th and the date of that particular dinner, it will look in those ranges of dates for a Beverly Hilton receipt within my email and automatically extract and pre-process it. So ultimately, what we've done is with a single click, we're able to automatically capture and file limitless amounts of receipts, room keys, handwritten notes, collectively in one shot, auto-categorize them, and submit them to the ServiceNow portal. So I think from a computer visioning perspective, it really speaks as to how artificial intelligence transcends service, even with a simple application like this. Okay, so now we're going to give you guys another example of how VERA is supporting and transcending service within ServiceNow through an HR example. And in this particular example, what we wanted to do is we wanted to build in an intelligent search bar that uses natural language processing, natural language understanding, which is, again, a pillar of artificial intelligence of VERA, to support the ability to query through that search bar information that was normally stored in human resource documents that commonly in a ServiceNow portal would be available and categorized at best and linkable through a PDF document. So in other words, I would have to look for a specific type of document that I would assume within that document contained an answer to a very specific question I had, let's say on a sick leave or holidays available or company holidays, based on a document header. Now, that is time consuming, and we felt that there's obviously better ways of providing that information. So we built in this VERA Intelligence Search tool. In fact, this tool is a standalone tool that connects into the ServiceNow platform. The actual VERA Intelligence Search embedded within the ServiceNow platform is being now integrated with the help of the ServiceNow team. And so it will be available through our ServiceNow practice and our AI practice collectively in the coming weeks. But to give you an example of here the power of the VERA Intelligence Search, so there's two, I think, important pieces to the capabilities here. One is natural language understanding means I can query a request in different ways, not have to worry about a keyword that I have to continuously include, and still get relevant information regardless of the way that I structured that question. And so here, there is that sort of flexibility powered by natural language processing. The other dimension to this is simply the fact that we're extracting information from documents available in the data repository, specifically paragraphs, not the whole document, that are most relevant to that particular question, based on a probabilistic algorithm and this natural language processing capability. And so something that would normally take 30, 45 minutes to find can now be automatically extracted using this intelligence search bar powered by artificial intelligence. Okay, so this is one of the fun ones, in my opinion, because it was designed initially by our development team here to support this sales ability, or essentially to support demonstrating artificial intelligence at a very simplistic level for our sales team to create a tangible way of showing the power of AI. And in fact, after we developed it for that purpose, one of our clients reached out to us looking to develop an office automation capability for their conference rooms. And so now VERA AI Pyramid actually serves two different application cases, and I will share with you both here. So this is VERA. It should have flipped sideways, but it didn't this time. So you guys will just have to turn your heads as you look at this. VERA, like I said, here is the artificial intelligence of VERA built into a physical personification within this hardware that has a voice synthesis, microphone, and some other sensor technologies, and is intended on supporting these two use cases. The use case on the left is highlighting computer visioning and some additional AI capabilities by simply being able to write a handwritten note, write a formula, or ask VERA a question and have VERA answer that question, read the formula and calculate the answer, or read a handwritten note. So fundamental building blocks of AI demonstratable through a simple box like this to support kind of the tangible idea of what AI can really do. The other aspect here is IoT sensors. So you can ask VERA to connect to a sensor. And in this case, we're focusing our AI efforts within the office or in the industrial space, because of course, there are a lot of different devices available at the smart home space already. But a lot of our capabilities here are focused for office automation and industrial automation, powered through devices like this, like the AI Pyramid, to support interacting with it to get temperatures for particular conference rooms, get a count of how many people are in a conference room, pull minutes of the meetings that were captured automatically through this device. So all those things are now possible through a physical hardware that can sit and support different workflows. The use case on the right is the one that I was alluding to earlier, and it's basically this idea that our customer was looking for a way to optimize their conference room usage, simply because they were a very large campus with 30 or 40 buildings, and they needed a way to reduce the amount of open conference rooms that were booked but not seen available in the system because people were booking way in advance. And for those of you probably working in large campuses, you know that this is a problem. People had to walk 30, 40 minutes across the campus to find conference rooms. And so fundamentally, this was initially driven by, okay, I want to know, are my conference rooms occupied? The reality of that is that I see someone raising their hand, so I'll just finish here and I'll maybe ask, or they can perhaps ask the question in the Q&A portion, and I'll answer that as appropriate. But in this case, knowing where someone is in a conference room or who is in a conference room is not what we intended to do. And existing smart office systems do provide motion in a conference room, but they do not tell you how many people are actually in the conference room. And so the goal here is, once we know how many people are in the conference room, we can use that data as a means to provide facilities management with better ways of using conference room and space in general, which is one of the goals of this client. And then we built in some additional features that were actually extended by agile teams and project management teams looking to do additional things with this device, namely capturing minutes of the meeting. So those are two features for our client that were built in to support AI pyramid at the office automation level. So maybe if there's a question now that's related. Yes, so VERA can speak different languages. Right now it's limited to 4 languages, but that's only because the features, we've kind of locked the features to our user bases, so English, French, German, and I believe it's Dutch, but that isn't to say that the other languages that are kind of commonly supported by natural language engines could not be extended to VERA. I will say that we have a separate effort as part of a consortium that we're building with academia to extend language support into commonly unsupported languages of chatbots and natural language processing. So that's something that's actively in the works, and if there is a specific need to support a foreign language that is not commonly supported, we do those things, and we are doing those things today, and we have a kind of a very deliberate path forward to support that. And I'd be happy to answer specific follow-up questions around that language support question and how we intend on maybe supporting you to build a language support for a language that's commonly not supported. Offline, feel free to reach out to that email that Casey had posted. Okay, so now some industrial use cases of VERA. The first is one that we've kind of covered already through the VERA virtual experience, but I think it speaks very strongly to the various architectural features of VERA, so I will just go through it very quickly. Let me talk a little bit about the specific problem in hand, and it kind of is similar to the other user experiences we've seen. A field engineer looking to perform a particular repair task has to go through a variety of different data repositories in order to extract information relevant to them to make decisions as to the work that they need to perform. They need to know if, let's say, there's a particular recall on a particular part, where those parts are located within the facility. That is not obvious by any means, and for those of you that have worked in any industrial environmental facilities, you probably know that. And so VERA, through its knowledge graphing capability, this annotation capability that we talked about, is able to look into that data pervasively and extract relevant interconnections of information. So in this case, it can look at one data repository to know the type of equipment that is being recalled. It can look into another data repository to pull facility schematics. It can look into a separate data repository to pull equipment schematics. and then it can look into a maintenance record in a separate data or application system that will tell the this field engineer things like, let me just go back because I skipped over it, things like what was the last inspection and repairs in those areas, all of which ultimately helps this field engineer and accelerates their ability to get into the field to perform their job. And so here you're seeing personalization, which is powered by artificial intelligence, because as I talk to it, it knows exactly what facility I'm referring to. The idea being that if I'm talking to a subject matter expert across the room from me, and I allude to a particular problem, they're not going to ask me, well, in what facility, if we're sitting in the facility that we're talking about. So that contextualization, personalization powered by AI, the image processing that you see here, which is basically highlighting the area that I'm in, and also extracting all these additional locations and allowing the user to then pull information from a particular location, is all part of the computer visioning capabilities of VERA. This interconnection of information like schematics, diagrams with maintenance records is all powered through our knowledge graph capabilities. The user engagement platform, which allows the user to interact with it audibly, click, things that create a seamless experience, not just having to write redundant text. All those things are built into this particular experience, like you've seen with the other ones as well. All right, so this is another kind of turnkey example that I wanted to highlight for everyone. So we, of course, offer AI, IoT turnkey solutions, and we also work very closely with the ServiceNow teams, with the mobile teams. And this is a nice example of how we created a turnkey solution amongst our internal practice and other practices within VSOP. In this case, what you're seeing here is actually a field engineer performing an inspection on a pump in an oil rig. And the problem with inspections in an oil rig is that they require a complex set of routines. You can see that the environment is dangerous. The people have to go out there constantly doing the different maintenance and inspection activities. And these assets rotate, potentially get replaced by other similar pumps that have different specifications. And so that becomes a very difficult process for the inspection engineer to be able to manage the correct inspections, to be able to get information on, let's say, horsepower ratings, part replacement information. And so, with the power of artificial intelligence and natural language processing, that information can be automatically extracted from product manuals and specification documents, and done so autonomously once that natural language engine is trained. And so now what we're doing, and I'll show you here, is that we're actually taking inspection steps and providing them to the user, to the inspection engineer, in a wizard-like format, one after the other, instead of having to go through a 500-page manual to extract relevant information. That information is pre-processed through the artificial intelligence engine and provided to the user in this step-by-step form. And of course, in this case, we also used IoT or RFID, in this case, kind of a sub-component of IoT technology to support the actual identification process, because a lot of these pieces of equipment are obviously covered by dust. The identification plates are hard to get to. So with the power of wireless technology, we're able to wirelessly identify the asset, then automatically pre-populate the inspection steps and allow that inspector to perform their work step by step seamlessly. And in turn, what that allows is for that process to be a lot faster, a lot safer, and that data to be moved to the top floor, to the office level for the purpose of understanding what assets are being maintained and how, for the purpose of analytics and so on. So again, transcending service with artificial intelligence in the oil field or in the industrial space for asset management. We got another question here. Oh, it's the same question, okay. All right, very good. So now some examples of computer visioning in the safety industry, or rather it's actually in the industrial industry, but for the purpose of safety. So this is a very quick example of using computer visioning for safety. And we built this in a few days as a proof of concept for a rig operator. And so we're very aware here, like there's someone in the background here with a hard hat that is not being captured. The reason being is because data is key here, and volumes of data is key in terms of being able to use computer visioning effectively. This was done in a day. Our typical rollouts for training any algorithm, whether it be computer visioning or some of the other virtual assistant rollouts, at the front end of that delivery process is a data collection phase that inherently captures information to support the training of our algorithms. And so this is a perfect example of what, first of all, what you can do in a day, and now scaling that to a true delivery lifecycle. The power of computer visioning or otherwise any of our AI offerings is really endless. This is another great example that ties in computer visioning with real-time location systems. So real-time location systems are really IoT technologies used for tracking individuals. The IoT component, I won't get into too much, but it's actually a very unique IoT technology because it jumps between GPS and other local tracking systems based on where the user is in the facility, because GPS doesn't work well in all areas. And the computer visioning system is there to support an enhanced view of the actual response teams. This is actually a simulated incident. And this sort of information, as it's being captured through the computer visioning platform, becomes data for safety managers to support insights into their responses that they never thought would be possible, right? Because you don't get this sort of deep analytics by just simply recording it on a piece of paper. And this use case, as much as industrial centric, applies to really a variety of other industries in different cases. Casino industries that are looking to understand how their VIPs are moving through the environments in the casino floor. Retail stores that are looking to capture movement of individuals on their floor to optimize their display cases. As you can see here, these sort of algorithms can capture that information, and then the analytics that are powered through VERA as well can then create additional information about the amount of time one object is sitting in front of another object. So a person, a responder to someone that's man down, an individual to a particular display case. It has some marketing value, how long someone engaged a particular screen that is running a particular ad, how many people saw it, how long they actually sat around to look at it. All those analytics are now possible at your fingertips using VERA computer visioning. This is kind of the extension to that same industrial use case. You see a response team here coming in, and you're able to see, okay, the individuals and the particular vehicles that are arriving. And then you get some additional insights here as the people gather around the vehicle, retention times between them and the vehicle. So how long they're taking to prep in front of the vehicle, collaboration between two people talking. So that's an incident manager and a fire marshal. And that discussion needs to take place before they go in with their teams. So you're essentially capturing that information through visioning and ensuring that actually has taken place. Those sort of analytics, like I said, apply here, but apply to a variety of different other non-industrial settings as well. Okay, so I think we are almost right on time because we wanted to leave some Q&A here for the group.
Yep, Conrad, and we do have some questions.
Okay.
First, I wanted to go back. There was a question in the chat. Let me go back. This is when you were talking about reserving conference rooms. Someone asks, why not just put conference rooms into Outlook?
Yeah, that's exactly, I think the problem is that people put them into Outlook and then they make reservations 3 months in advance for 1 week at a time. They don't show up. They don't respect canceling the meetings. They go into conference rooms, one person into a 12-person conference room. So like I said, right, so there are tools, and of course, in place to support actively managing conference room attendance. But the reality of those tools is that they don't holistically address the types of things that in reality happen in these sort of scenarios. They don't You don't know how many people are in a conference room. You don't know really if they're showing up or not. Those are active, huge problems in large organizations that drain a tremendous amount of time from individuals looking to book and actually sit in a conference room. So I don't know what the number was. I can't remember it, but it's in the millions of dollars a year of productivity loss because of conference room booking issues that create these transit times between buildings that can be preventable if you had this level of granular visibility into your conference room.
Perfect. Okay, we have couple more. Let me go back. Okay, so how long does it take VERA to learn an environment?
I would say that's a kind of a very general question, but I will say, I alluded to this a little bit earlier. So most, if not all, of our enterprise size rollouts within environments that are unique to that organization take about 3 months to train. So specifically what I'm saying is with some of the computer visioning platforms, if we have it already available and trained, then it doesn't really require too much additional training. With some of our natural language processing capability, with the use cases you saw, you wouldn't need to retrain against HR documents because typically the language in HR documents is consistent. So there would be some initial adjustments to the natural language processing engine for your HR document repository, but it would not be from scratch. And then as new documents come in and are populated within your system, the whole idea is once you've trained it, it knows how to handle new documents. So you're not having to train it against all the documents. You're just training it against a subset of the documents you have, and the rest of the document it can absorb and process automatically. So it's on a case-by-case basis, enterprise, 3 months, if it's a green field with no previous kind of historical references to train with. Otherwise, it's on a case-by-case, and it could be out of box the next day, potentially.
Perfect. Okay, next question. It says, I saw VERA has an appliance, the physical pyramid, but what are the other ways VERA can be used in? So mobile apps, things like that.
Okay, so this pyramid is the physical app. That's the only, let me go back to here. All these are, this example here is a mobile app. This example here is a mobile app. So maybe I don't understand the question, but I will say, like I said at the beginning here, VERA artificial intelligence is personified through the virtual assistants in specific. I gave some demonstrations here of our virtual assistant in 3 or 4 different industries. Some of the deep learning algorithms that VERA has extend traditional analytical environments with some specific insights that, let's say, are not available in their suite of analytical tools that are commonly kind of used by the organization. Our AI pyramid does office automation through the use cases I demonstrated, and we also have this industrial control intelligence, which I didn't touch upon too much, but predictive analytics for equipment failure and so on is something else that we do. So a very diverse, I guess, set of examples in the mobile app at the desktop level, kind of transparently to the user as an analytics engine, physically incarnated as an AI pyramid. And one of the other things I didn't mention, maybe it's worth mentioning now, is part of our next evolution of VERA. So for those of you who have attended ServiceNow for the last couple of years and have come to our booth, we have evolved our VERA messaging to align with our product development. So this year it was She's Alive. Next year is She Is Everywhere. I'm not sure that's going to be the official branding message, but the whole idea is we want to make VERA pervasive with the user as they walk and interact with their environment. So VERA could sit at the desktop, at the mobile, as a headset. It could sit in a smart office as an AI pyramid, and the instances that we engage VERA in. So if I ask VERA on a mobile device to extract minutes of the meetings that I was just at in a conference room that VERA captured, I can do that transparently, and then I can sit on my desktop, let's say, pull those minutes seamlessly, knowing that I'm still engaging with VERA, and it will know that I've already interacted with it at the mobile level, so it'll have it ready at my desktop to be able to interact with. So those are the experiences that we're aiming for in its evolution, and we're looking to do that by the end of the year.
Okay, then we have another question from the chat. It says, is it platform agnostic? Can it be on premises, or is it always in the cloud?
So I would say the term platform agnostic means it can go onto any platform. I don't know if that's, let's say, out of box, something that could be done, but it is absolutely not specific to ServiceNow. We've integrated it into a variety of different enterprise resource planning platforms, into HR systems, into industrial control systems. So it is not specific to a particular platform or tied into it in any shape or form deeply where it couldn't be used and scaled into another platform. It has deliberate kind of interfaces to allow that scalability to happen. And the second part of that question, Casey, was what?
Can it be on-premise, or is it always in the cloud?
Okay, so yes, on-prem is actually one of our differentiating offerings. The idea is we do have cloud services that could allow VERA to sit in the cloud, but in cases where you're dealing with like government or financial institutions where you want the data that is going to be processed through the artificial intelligence algorithm, whether it be text-based data or numbers, to be on-prem at all times, regardless of the levels of security that are offered through cloud. And so we do offer those sort of capabilities to allow that VERA and its artificial intelligence backbone to process data on-prem and not have it released into the cloud.
Okay, perfect. I'll just do one more question, and then I think it's time to wrap up. So the last question is, how do companies overcome privacy concerns of AI in your experience, Conrad?
Privacy concerns of AI. So I think we answered one inherently here by saying it could, on-prem is a relevant privacy concerns with respect to passing data and limiting it to the organization. When we talk about privacy with the context of like capturing minutes of the meetings in conference rooms or using visioning systems to support some control. So this is a collective effort that demands, in fact, I'm going to pitch design thinking again because I think it's a very relevant, let's say, mechanism to empower transparency, is that you get everyone at the table early on in your delivery process. You focus your use cases on areas that have value that, let's say, do not intend on intruding into privacy. You assure the collective group that these sort of technologies are not, let's say, capturing personal information. A lot of what you saw here today, even I'm just going to go to and allude to it, is this conference room system is deliberately, let me just get to it, is classified me as person, right? It didn't classify me as Conrad. And so if you're transparent in the platform you're delivering and open to how you approach it and get the collective buy-in of your stakeholder group, which is really part of the design thinking workshop, and that isn't the only way, of course, then it should be pretty transparent to the communities that are going to be adopting this, that in fact, okay, this, I've been provided the proof of concept, I've been provided, maybe even the code itself, I've been shown this is not identifying individuals, but I'm just looking to understand if a person is there. It's not retaining data in the cases where it doesn't need to retain data. So all that transparency early on in the development process, in the adoption process, breaks those sort of barriers. And I'd be happy to discuss, some of the ways that we've done this with our customers, offline, I guess, with whomever that asked that question.
Excellent. I'm going to grab the screen back if I can from you, Conrad.
Sure.
Thank you. And so thank you so much for sharing your insights into, let me get over here to where I'm supposed to be, screen 2, share it. So if you're seeking out more information, please reach out to any of us here with the sales at vsoftconsulting.com, or visit vsoftconsulting.com/she's alive, or check out our AR practice under our expertise tab. We certainly appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to helping you in any way with your AI initiatives. And stay tuned. Conrad will be coming back soon. Might be something around design, Conrad. I think you liked that topic.
Sure. If there's an interest there in design thinking, I think, what I wanted to highlight again is just the user-centric approach that we offer, powered by a very powerful framework, which is design thinking. But if you guys are interested in using that within your organization to support defining your AI roadmaps, that's of course something we can talk about and something we can support you on.
It certainly seems to be quite prevalent. I know you've worked with a number of our clients in that capacity. But that being said, we want to let you go, give you a couple more minutes of your day, and thank you for the gift of everyone's time. Thank you, Conrad. Thank you, Casey. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon and a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.